Hello and welcome. It's another edition of Using Technology to Attain Responsible Business Growth. Using technology to attain responsible business growth on Armorgate Radio Communications. I'm your host, Abiodun Habari. Yes, as you all know, over 150 countries have pledged to switch to zero net emission by 2050, and for Nigeria, it's actually 2060. Yes, and the current weaponization of the global oil and gas supply chain has actually amplified the need for businesses, for entities, organizations, enterprises to gravitate towards sustainable growth, towards responsible engagement, responsible conduct. Okay, what's happening in the Middle East has actually made it more important. Okay, imperative, and one can only imagine what the sailors that have been stranded in the choke points, the Strait of Hormuz, the past few months, what they have been through, what they are still going through. Okay, and they are maybe run out of supplies and facing starvation, the despair, and so on. So may God help them. Hearts goes out to them, and yes, we always emphasize that in as much as a change to responsible business conduct to ensure sustainable growth is something that's desirable. Okay, organizations should not pander to the pressure from activists, from investors. Okay, and ensure an optimal transit plan that prioritizes the health and stability of the organization. Right, done in such a manner that disruptions are minimal. And the past few episodes, we've tried to emphasize the use of technology, because it's one veritable way to transit and attain responsible business growth is through the use of technology, as we have been showing the last few episodes, and we've been able to talk about various technologies and various impacts as regard conducting business in a responsible fashion, achieving growth that's sustainable, inculcating ESG principles, minimal environmental impact. Okay, so we understand the impact on operational efficiency and sustainability. That's not debatable. Okay, so also you also talk about the attendant risks, talking about the unintended consequences. And so they also need to continually work to proactively mitigate, to proactively ensure that the ability of the organization to achieve its goals, so to grow responsibly, is not undermined. Because when the adoption or the development use of technology impacts negatively, okay, maybe on human rights issues, talking about intended consequences, talking about the risks associated with using technology to attain sustainable business growth. Responsible business growth. It's okay, sustainable business growth, and which might arise from unintended discriminatory practices. Okay, prejudicial practices emanating from biased data sets. Okay, talking about exclusion, limitation, maybe hiring practices or in access to opportunities. So these are easily human rights issues and might not bode well with the society, and when technology can bring these unintended consequences, proactive attention measures should be ensured to make sure that these things do not happen. Or even in terms of social discomfort, right? Breach of privacy for various justifications. Okay, as a result of breach of privacy, as a result of surveillance in the workplace. All right, so you have management being able to justify this breach, right? It's creating social discomfort. All right, so and look at these unintended consequences. All right, and even how the information campaign can be amplified to the detriment of the target audience, and the wider society. Talking about disinformation, all right, sort of to create some perception that is not in tune with reality, okay, for to achieve some sinister purpose. So it's important for these risks to be addressed so that technology can be trusted, okay, just technology should be trusted, right, and that will actually impact engagement positively, right, continuously, impacting engagement. So the use of technology should be responsible, okay. And for instance, the OECD developed due diligence guidance for responsible AI, for responsible artificial intelligence, all right, well backed by all the OECD member countries and additionally 17 partner countries and the European Union. Okay, so the framework is to ensure that businesses that deploy artificial intelligence in a safe, responsible, and trustworthy manner in alignment with the values and goals of the wider society. And actually, the due diligence framework has some steps being advanced to actually ensure that these measures are effective. Okay, so I'm talking about step one: embed responsible business conduct into policies and management systems. Okay, obviously that's adoption of RBC, okay, responsible business conduct, and ensuring that it permeates and envelopes the system. It's well embedded in the philosophy of the organization, right? So that it reflects in the policies and reflects in the management systems. So right up to how operations are run and how other frameworks, and up to the sourcing of materials, ensuring ethical materials, ethical sourcing, ensuring responsible business conduct, reducing carbon footprints to the barest minimum, okay, employing renewable energy sources, right? So embedding responsible business conduct into policies and management systems as the first step. And step two, we're talking about identify and assess actual and potential adverse impacts. Okay, identify and assess actual and potential adverse impacts. Talking about unintended consequences of using technology to responsible business and growth. Okay, so our next step is be able to assess, okay, those ones that are actually glaring, okay, the impacts that are glaring, that are actually happening, and those ones that are not so glaring, that may actually be indirectly come across, and that early risk feasibility is very, very important. Be able to identify even those risks, okay, that are not so visible at the moment. All right, so you're talking about unintended consequences of using technology. Okay, identify and assess actual and potential adverse impacts. Okay, talking about the risk profile of using the certain technology. All right, so third step: seize, prevent, and mitigate adverse impacts. Okay, talking about the steps to ensure that these actual and potential unintended consequences that have been identified, that have been assessed. Okay, now putting in measures to ensure that they cease to be, they are prevented and that they are mitigated. Talking about 3 courses of action. Okay, the ones that are stoppable, to ensure that they are stopped. All right, and the ones that that potential, that you want to ensure that are prevented, they don't happen. All right, and the ones that you see that there is a high propensity for them happening, and so you want to ensure that they are mitigated to ensure minimal adverse impact. Okay, so that's the 3rd step. Right. Seize, prevent, and mitigate adverse impacts. And the 4th step, right, is track implementation and results of due diligence activities. Okay, so track implementation and results of due diligence activities. Of course, you want to ensure that the actions that are taken, after identifying and assessing actual and potential adverse impacts and putting steps to seize, prevent, and mitigate, you want to ensure that whatever you have put in place, is actually effective. Talking about the feedback mechanism to ensure that the right tinkering is done to ensure the continuous meeting of goals in terms of mitigating these risks, in terms of proactively addressing these unintended consequences. So track implementation and results of due diligence activities as the 4th step. And step number 5 has to do with communicate actions to address the impact. Communication actions to address impact, very important. Communications very important, especially it's talking about stakeholdership. Is the lifeblood of stakeholdership. Communication is the conveyor for transparency. Ensures when that communication is clear and to the point and is adequate, it creates an atmosphere of transparency and there's trust, and that's actually what embodies stakeholdership, embodies effective stakeholdership. And that is actually impacts positively and significantly on sustainability. So communicate actions to address impact. So the actions to address impact must be well communicated to stakeholders, and stakeholders must understand and be well aligned with these actions. Alright, so at the step number 6, which is the final step, has to do with provide for or cooperate in remediation when appropriate. Provide for or cooperate in remediation when appropriate. Very important. That's trying to address fallouts as a result of the discrepancies, as a result of non-alignment, especially as regards to stakeholders. So there must be that mechanism to ensure remediation, to ensure cooperation, the options of cooperation and remediation, must that mechanism, very important as appropriate, so that you ensure that all stakeholders align and to ensure that you have responsible technology to achieve responsible business growth. At this point, we'll take a break, and when we come back, we're still using technology to attain responsible business growth. Stay with us.
At Armor Gates Training, we believe professional development should do more than inform. It should transform how people work, lead, and deliver results. That's why we support organizations through conceptual insight, practical learning, and performance evaluation right at the intersection of leadership, strategy, and institutional transformation. Our approach focuses on practical learning format that professionals can immediately apply in their workplace. At Armor Gate, we don't teach theory alone. We equip participants with real-world insight drawn from almost 2 decades of organizational transformation experience. Our programs combine multiple learning methods designed for real-time measurable results. Through seminars, we facilitate deep conversation on key subjects using group exercises. Participants collaborate, reflect, and think strategically. With case studies, they then sharpened analytical and decision-making skills using real industry scenarios. Through relevant videos, we spark insightful discussions using relatable real-life context. All in all, every participant develops an individual work plan, ensuring the learning turns into real action after the program. Our training programs are hosted in world-class venues across global cities, including Addis Ababa, Nairobi, Mombasa, Cape Town, Dubai, Singapore, Kuala Lumpur, London, Florida, and Washington, D.C. Let's work with you to turn learning into your organization's growth. For more inquiries, call +234 807 9574 151 or WhatsApp +1 610 504 6026. Visit www.theourmorgate.org. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn at Our Morgate. Our Morgate Training, transforming knowledge, interaction, and growth.
Welcome back. You're still using technology to attain responsible business growth on Amogate Radio Communications, and I'm your host, Abiodun Abari. So much about how impactful technology like AI organizations in terms of the occupational health and safety, right, of employees, impacting on the ESG principles. Right? So I'm talking about how dangerous tasks can be automated to ensure that employees are well protected. So technology very, very important, very, very useful. Right? And you can even see that governments use artificial intelligence to be able to organize cities, having smart grids to allocate resources and ensure that devices are connected and allocate resources, power resources, in terms of maintenance, able to predict maintenance, using AI to predict maintenance and ensure that the city is flowing at optimum and reducing congestion to the minimum. So all these information in real time being fed into the traffic system and that traffic is optimized because with technologies and AI able to access and evaluate vast amount of data right this significant amount of time relevant insights crime fighting, prevention, ensure that we save our society. So the impact of technology in these areas that impact wider society, right? And something that is documented. So, and to ensure that all these gains are not eroded, we have to ensure that adequately take care, proactively take care of those unintended consequences, okay, the risk of those negative impacts that are associated with technology, associated with AI systems, alright, and ensure that they are effectively managed. So, very important that something like harmful practices that can easily affect. Talk about things like data management services. Okay, so when there are some kind of state activities that they can't manage power, that's when we use to create AI systems, and use some services that are actually combined data services. Try to consulted practices. So that's intended impacts, means negative impacts, negative challenges, unwanted consequences that these technologies can bring. Okay, so that responsible innovation, responsible technology, responsible business growth promoted. Currently, now multiple frameworks are actually available at national level, at regional, and international level that these risks are related to the deployment of AI systems, deployment of AI models, research to the end, so again, respecting, okay, so that and the steps, measures, the actions, the activities that organizations, that businesses, and entities engage in to proactively manage risks, engage these consequences. Okay, so, and the scope that covered is very from can have these two frameworks that give major potential elements for enterprise for another as much. So it's not these frameworks are actually not exhaustive on their own, and we have them having risk overlap. So and also have they also interconnected. So we still do a streamlining in subsequent episodes and break all these frameworks down for you so that people to digest and to apply necessary and actionable insights from organizations and challenges to responsible conduct. And we also not all frameworks organization is expected to evaluate, assess, and determine its own priorities, based circumstances, so that very important that we understand that technology must be trusted, and that is the essence of ensuring that these unwanted consequences are mitigated. Because technology is well trusted, it's engagement, fanfare, impact positively on the engagement and people who engage and stakeholdership to ensure that technology is a success. We need to understand and adapt the technology, adopt and adapt the technology, and use the technology to create the intended impacts, especially in terms of operational efficiency and at the same time achieving sustainability goals. Yes, there's a lot of focus on AI because it's the most transformative technology that we have at the moment. Because something as transformative as what we had in the industrial revolution or what we had in the internet revolution. So for AI, it's not just an incremental impact. It's something that is wholly transformative. Productivity, what brings efficiency, the value it adds, and how it's been able to use data to solve very complex challenges, very complex challenges across various sectors, various areas of society, from manufacturing to healthcare, to governance, to transportation, logistics, to defense, and to look at how AI has been deployed. The get to see why there's a lot of emphasis on AI and able to ensure that these unintended consequences are taken. So, and you have to understand that a responsible AI, okay, is not just talking about digital innovation, okay, the ability to innovate and get solutions, but also the sourcing, okay, the data suppliers, the supply of data, about the finance, okay, and also the infrastructure. All right, so everything has to be responsible for you to say, okay, yes, this technology has been utilized responsibly. Okay, so and also people talk about the stakeholder engagement, the employees, the workers should be well considered. Right? Very, very important. They are at the center, and they should be focused on. So this is technology should be something that enhances capability rather than something that replaces human beings. So the workers should be the center. Okay, so said responsible AI actually have center stakeholder, effective stakeholder. There's the workers and prioritizing when organizations, when businesses, when entities really proactively address or engage this potential consequences associated with AI systems, with the technology, that's actually brings trustworthiness into the system. That foundation of trustworthiness, that it's very, very important, as I can impact the growth and investment, because that embodies stakeholdership, embodies effective stakeholdership. So, and when enterprises, when businesses, when entities demonstrate that level of commitment to responsible deployment of technology, to responsible use of AI, get through best practices. Okay, so it usually translates into quantitative edge. Right? It's confidence in investors, customers, regulators, all the stakeholders, and all stakeholders. Okay, that stakeholdership is stronger than confidence, and actually impacts quantitative edge organization positively. At this point, we've come to the research issue, and I hope today has been impactful as usual. And until I come up with a device again, please keep well and keep impacting. Bye-bye.
Harmogate, founded in 2008 out of a desire to build transgenerational structures for organizations, institutions, and nations. We have worked with large businesses, international development organizations, and public sector ministries and agencies. Harmogate, our uniqueness is that we do not just work for you, we work with you. For example, we do not leave you to the task after sourcing talent that will help the new hire settle into robust leadership development programs. We are technical experts in advising and supporting institutions on strategy and leadership, artificial intelligence, strategic human resource management, public sector reform, finance, audit and tax, FAT, and strategic communications. We do all this and more out of a desire to transform nations through institutions and organizations. For further inquiries, email contact@thearmogate.org or call +234 810 999 6666, +234 807 957 4151, and +161 0504 6026. www.thearmogate.org. Armogate, building to endure and transforming nations through institutions and organizations.